I'm so happy that you're here with me this morning. My screen is a little funky, so bear with me while I get things set up here. But I wanted to make sure that I got to you as soon as I could and begin to have this conversation that I wanted to talk about this morning. Um, One of the things that I really wanted to talk about this morning, for one, is this picture behind me. Can you see this about right here? So this picture, it says, "The world is broken, but hope is not crazy." That's a quote by John Green, a great author and one of my daughter's favorite authors. I want to make sure you understand that even though all this stuff is going on around in the world, it may not seem normal. It's not normal, but I can tell you that hope is not crazy. So, great quote from John. So, having said that, I wanted to just talk a little bit with you this morning about why it's so important to know that you have blind spots. Or, I guess the first thing is, how do you know you have blind spots? Well, anytime you have something you want, there's something that you're reaching for, and you just can't. You feel like you can't get it. So whether it's a job that you've wanted for a long time, or you've wanted to move to someplace remote or someplace different from where you live today, uh, what has prevented you from doing that? Well, chances are it's a blind spot. You've told yourself you can't move because of this, this, and this. And maybe those things are true. Maybe they're not true. But if you get through some of those and understand and deal with them as they are, then you'll be able to do some different things that you've never been able to do before because you just didn't think you could. So, having said that, I want to make sure that you know that those blind spots are something that we all can deal with. We all have blind spots. We all have blindness in our lives. But if we can understand those blind spots and begin to deal with them, then we're going to be able to push forward. My blind spots have been for a long time that I didn't think that I could, have a speaking career and live my life that I wanted to live because I just didn't feel like I'd be able to make enough money to support my family. Totally honest. And I didn't feel like we'd be able to, pay for kids' college and do all the things we wanted to do. We wanted to retire in our senior years and have a life of not luxury, have a life at least where we could travel a little bit and be able to do certain things. But I didn't think it was possible until I started to deal with some of my own blind spots. Well, one of my blind spots was I thought that I would be a speaker and I would motivate people with, a good story and tell them, how they can do things on their own. But then I had to realize that, and I was going to talk to corporations because who else would I want to talk to? I want to talk to the people with money. That was a blind spot. So if I could deal with that, and I had to understand that the people that I need to talk to are the people that are dealing with stuff on their own. They have things in their lives that have prevented them from, living a life that most people would think we would need to have, but we don't need to have. So I go out and I speak with people with intellectual and developmental disabilities all across the nation. And I never in a million years thought that is who I should be speaking to. But as I had one conversation with one person, and it led to the next, and it led to the next, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is who I should be speaking to. So it's been great, and I've adapted my speech to them, and it's just been a very interesting scenario because I dealt with my blind spots. But the thing is, I didn't deal with my blind spot on my own. I had to have somebody tell me that I had this blind spot. And once they told me that I had the blind spot, I'm like, huh, well, that makes a lot of sense. And then, after that, I was able to slowly, took it's taken years to get there, but slowly get to a point where I was more comfortable with seeing through my blind spot. Now, I was lucky enough. I had a friend. I had somebody that I was paying, actually, that helped me to see my blind spot. Um, and he is still somebody that I still pay today. I still work with it because he's helped me to see through my blind spot. And I can't tell you how important that is. But who do you have? Who do you have that sees your blind spot? Now, you may say it's your spouse, and maybe that is true, but in a work environment, it's not usually going to be the case. So, I want to talk to you today a little bit about those blind spots, why it's so important for us to know that we have them, but really the next step is to begin to see through them. So, in a work setting, we can tell people about their blind spots, or as a manager, you can tell people about their blind spots. Well, one of the ways you can do that is with a tool, and this tool is called the Johari window. It, yes, it's the tool that I've talked to you about before. It was created in 1955 by two British psychologists. Their names happen to have been Joe and Harry, for the Joe Harry window. Anyway, so this tool is important. I'm going to show it to you here in a minute. But the tool shows you that you have things. It's actually a grid. You have things that you know and things you don't know, and then you have things that other people don't know and other people know. And this is about you. So as we look at this, we can see that the Johari window is typically a full, evenly spaced quadrant. So those things that other people know, and on the y-axis, those things that other people know, and then the things that other people don't know. These are characteristics or traits about you. Now, if you know them and other people don't, that would be considered your blind spot. If you don't know them and other people do, then that would be your blind spot. I'm sorry, I think I said it wrong. The first area was things you don't know, and other people do know. That's your hidden area. Yeah, hidden area. So that's a little bit about the tool and helping you to understand how you can use this tool with your coworkers or your teams that you're building or whatever the case may be. Just understand that this is a very important tool to have in your belt because you can put this in people's files, and in order to help them to grow as a person, grow as an individual, and as they grow as an individual, they're gonna grow. You're gonna grow as a team. You're gonna be much more productive, much more efficient than you ever have been. So this is a little bit about the tool. There are some other things that I've been experimenting with over the last, I would say, a few years, and this has been some work that I've done with Tasha Eurich. Now, Tasha Eurich is an author, and she's also a psychologist. I'm going to stop sharing this screen here. So for a minute, and then we'll bring it back to full screen. So Tasha Eurich wrote a book, and in this book, she really wanted to make sure that we all understood that there are things that we see and things that we don't see that are sometimes they're preventing us from doing a good job. Sometimes they're preventing us from moving forward. Sometimes they're preventing us from having a more productive team. Well, this book is called Insight. And Insight is a phenomenal read. It's very, very storytelling, a lot of storytelling through it, a lot of good conversation pieces that you can have with other people. But the subtitle of the book is The Surprising Truth About How Other People See Us and How We See Ourselves, and why the answers, or I'm sorry, and why the answers matter more than we think. So if you haven't read this book yet, I highly suggest you picking it up and giving it a read. It's very, very informative, and I have used it quite a bit with the work that I'm doing in regards to blind spot. Now, I've told you a little bit about why it's so important to know why you need to deal with your blind spot. You need to understand that you have blind spots. But then once you start to deal with them, oh, that's going to make all the difference in the world, because then you're going to be able to understand how people are taking you in. People are understanding you. People are experiencing you in the world. And then it's really enlightening, because once you begin to understand uh, how they're perceiving you, then maybe you can alter it a little bit. So I'll never forget, about 2.5 years ago, my wife and I went on a trip to Ireland. And when we were in Ireland, the driver of the tour bus that was with us asked me what I did. And I went like this. I told him everything I did. I told him about my speech. I told him about how important it is to understand what makes you unique. I told him all this. And he just asked me one simple question. I could have answered it with one simple answer, but I didn't. So my wife looked at me and she's like, she didn't say anything. She didn't make a fool out of me, which I've already done. But she was nice enough to just give me the look and help me to understand that I had a blind spot. And my blind spot was not knowing when to stop, not knowing when to stop sharing and see if they wanted to hear more information. So if you're going to tell somebody what you do, you can tell them, maybe make it interesting, maybe make it a little teaser, and then have them say, well, tell me more. But you don't want to, I shouldn't say that. You may not want to just throw up and just tell them everything, because that really diminishes your story, and it diminishes how they're perceiving you. So, in the book, again, she talks about how other people see us. I'm sure that guy, the tour bus driver, was like, oh my gosh, I've had enough of this guy. But he was stuck with me for another 6 days. In the grand scheme of things, though, it did allow him to understand me better. But he never went back to that discussion. He never went back to, oh, Brian's a speaker. That wasn't something that we had a conversation about. So understand how other people are seeing you, and understand the importance of what you get to do. What would happen if you were able to understand how people see you? So in the coming days and weeks, we're going to continue to go through this book. We're going to look at different chapters and maybe some other ideas that she has in regards to ways that you can see through your blind spots, and ways that you can begin to understand how people are looking at you, how people are taking you in, and know that it's important. There are some people that she refers to in this book, and she refers to them as unicorns. Now, the unicorns are the ones that are very rare, and they see how other people see them, but they also see themselves, how they're good about knowing themselves. So they're rare, and understanding how you're not only being viewed by the world, but also you know yourself well enough to be able to change something if you need to. So I'm going to just talk a little bit about that in the upcoming days, but understand that your blind spots are something you need to deal with. So I'd like to see, while we're on, if there is any of you that know of your blind spots. And we talked about this yesterday, but why do you think that it's important to know what your blind spot is? Let's see who we have on here. Oh, there's Wes. Good morning, Wes. How are you this morning? So glad to see you this morning. It's great to have you on. And then there's also, and he's telling us a little bit about the prize. So what you can do is you can put a copy in your timeline, put a picture in your timeline of you winking. Now I have a wink. My wink is permanent, but you have a wink that you can just give in your timeline and tag me on the picture, and then put a hashtag of Brian with one eye and a hashtag of winking with Wagner, and then, like I said, tag me on the post. Also, want to make sure that you know that you can share this with other people. So share these videos out with other people. Get them to come in and wink with me and post their pictures. I mean, that would be great if we could do that. And then I also have the membership site there for you all to join if you would like to. And who else do we have on this morning? We've got Chris Gross on this morning. Good morning, Chris, all the way from Colorado Springs. I love having you on here. It's so great to have you back. So let's see who else. My other friend, Laura Waller. Laura, you came back for a second day. I'm so happy that you were able to make time in your busy day to come back and visit with me. So tell me a little bit about what it is that, and this is for everyone on the call. Tell me what it is that you have that we talked a little bit about your blind spots yesterday, but why is it so important to know what your blind spot is? I want to hear from you. If you would, tell me about it. While you're thinking and while you're typing, I'm going to take a drink. So why is it so important to know what your blind spot is? Thank you, Laura. I'm so glad you need this. You know, I'm uh, I'm I'm blessed. I'm a little speechless that you would say that. So I appreciate having you on, and these conversations are very helpful, not only to me, not only to you, but they are helpful to me as well, because it kind of gets a lot that I have in me, a lot in me out, and I'm able to talk about it and kind of process it, as we go. So again, continue to type and let me know why you think it's so important to understand your blind spots, to be able to see your blind spots, and then to be able to see through them. So, again, in the chat, please type that, and I'll take another drink. Hmm. So that's a good point, Laura. A reason why you need to see through your blind spots, you need to understand your blind spots, is to better serve others and avoid making the same mistakes over and over and over. Yeah, that's a great point. When we don't have feedback, we don't know how other people are seeing us, then we're more prone to make the same mistakes over and over and over because we don't realize that they're mistakes. we don't realize how important it is to look at other people and to see how we're being viewed. But if we can talk to other people and have that feedback and get to see through our blind spots, then we're really going to set ourselves up for much more success. And success comes in many forms, many forms. But I'll tell you, it's not the form of failure, because when you fail, then people are going to stop coming. If I were to fail on these calls, then people would stop showing up. They would stop being around. I'm just so grateful that I have people that are telling me, how am I doing and what am I doing? How am I coming off to other people? So on these calls, I'm going off of what you're telling me. And if you're telling me that these calls are beneficial, then I'm going to continue on. So much like in life, when you have a situation where you need to understand, you know, how are other people seeing me? How do other people view what I'm saying? How do they view who I'm being? If I can understand that, then you can continue to go forward. And as you continue to go forward, you're going to continue. You're going to fail every once in a while, but you're still going to make sure that you are in the right direction, and the right direction is forward. So understand that, and understand how important it is to just continue on and serve other people. That's what this is all about, is being able to serve other people. I'm doing this here today, and I'm hopefully that you are continuing to get a lot out of it. And obviously you are, because there's more people joining. So that gives me the idea that, we're doing what we should be doing. So continue to do this. Continue to think about your blind spots and how it would make a difference. What difference would it make if you understood your blind spot and you started to deal with it? What will it do for you? I want you, if you're listening live, please put in #live. I know you already have, but some of you have. And if you're listening on replay, put in #replay, just to let me know if you're here. And then as you begin to respond, if it's a recorded, I can go back and I can reply with you, or I can talk with you, whatever, just to help you to understand why it's so important to identify our blind spots and then to deal with them. So talk about what do you think it means? What do you think it means to deal with your blind spot, and why is it so important? So again, continue to do that. I will let you go for today. I'm so glad you're here. I love you all. Big hugs, for all of you. And we'll continue to talk about this tomorrow. So thank you again. I appreciate you all. And as always, keep one eye on the road.